One of the new champions that will come to League of Legends is a new artillery mage from Bandle City, somehow tied to Viego's return. Some members of the community believe this to be Norra, Yuumi's Yordle companion. But is this possible? Let's find out. First, who is Norra? From Yuumi's bio, we learn that Norra was a Yordle enchantress from Bandle City who possessed the Book of Thresholds, a magical book that allowed her to instantly travel to any place depicted in its pages. From this, we know that Norra was an enchantress from Bandle City, two things that so far match the depiction of the new champion. We also know that Norra spent her time exploring places across the material and spirit realms, collecting strange objects like broken cups, shards of colored glass, and fabric with funny stitching. On these adventures, she was joined by Yuumi, who would always protect her. One day, however, Norra disappeared, leaving behind her book. Some of the book's pages were torn out by Norra. The place she traveled to was so perilous she had destroyed the portal as she traveled. This also somewhat aligns with the new champion, who, as Riot said, would prefer if we just didn't even bother her at all. She would choose anything over that colorful, horrible, bright place. The place that Norra traveled to could very well have been the Shadow Isles. We don't know exactly why Norra would want to travel to the Isles or any other dangerous place, but if she's the T's champion, we are led to assume that it was because she was tired of Bandle City. Yordles are spiritual creatures who adapt to their environment, changing their looks and personality, so I wonder how a Yordle would turn out in the cursed Shadow Isles. With the new item update, all the items are now considered canon, or at least very much based on the lore. The item Lost Chapter used to have the symbol of the Shadow Isles, which was changed to a more simple spiral design instead. It's unknown if the item is still tied to the Shadow Isles, but this could very well be the pages Norra ripped from her book. We also know that Yuumi has met Braum, and that he was one of her companions during one of her travels. Could this be how Braum got to Bilgewater? Through one of Book's portals? I think it's possible. Yuumi's story, The Biggest Catch, ends with her and Book traveling to a cold place, likely Freljord. We also learn why the people of Bilgewater are interested in Yordles. As a man says, I hear the biggest fish love Yordle meat. Yuumi and Book also meet a blue Yordle, who, after being teleported to Bandle City by them, asks, wasn't the nearest Bilgewater portal back on the docks? We see both of these things played out in the Bilgewater cinematic Don't Mess With Yordles, where we see a Bandle City portal on the docks of Bilgewater, and we see Graves trying to sell Teemo and his friends.
Don't care how much those Yordles are worth on the bounty board. They're a ticking time bomb of trouble.
Speaking of this cinematic, as Necrit said, there are some reference to the Shadow Isles and Viego in this specific scene. Obviously, this could be just a throwaway Easter egg, as the Ruin King is the biggest event this year, but maybe there's more to it. Before I talk about Teemo's pages, I want to mention how the teaser for the champion likely depicts this tree, which the Yordles use to travel between places. The Yordles travel to Red Town, the place where the Burning Tides began. The cinematic ends with Teemo showing that he got a soul-devouring sea worm as a pet. I find it interesting that the worm is described as soul-devouring since, and I will explain this better in another video, the Baru are known to use monsters of the sea to fight the spirits of the Arrowing. It was never explained how this was possible, but if these monsters can devour souls, then that would make much more sense. Going back to Teemo's Bilgewater pages from his scout journal, the pages have text on them, which is likely in a Yordle language. I'm not sure if it's possible to translate them or if they are just made up symbols and gibberish, but I will assume it's the latter and ignore them for now. The first one has a drawing of Nagakeboros, the deity worshipped by the Baru. The second one seems to be some kind of map, perhaps of the portals used by the Yordles, as it has what seems to be a Yordle head on it. The third has the old version of the Ruin King blade and the symbol of the Sentinels of Light. The fourth has the face of Viego, notable because of his unique crown. The fifth has what seems to be a building, a man and a cat. The sixth has some Ionian creatures, and the last is the portal tree which Yordles use to travel. The blade of the Ruin King is using the old design for some reason. We could say that maybe this cinematic was worked on before the design of the new blade was settled on, but considering that both this cinematic and the one from the Ruin King game were made by the same studios, I'm not sure if I believe this to be the case. It could still be possible, but then again the designs of both Viego and his blade have not been the most consistent across their depictions. The only explanation I can give is that perhaps his blade was also reshaped by the magic of the Isles. Viego's drawing depicts him with a weird eye, which may be a clue that this isn't actually him and is someone else, maybe he's old, but I don't think this is likely. I think it's just Viego with a weird eye. I'm pretty sure this building is somehow connected to the Sentinels of Light and or to the Blessed Isles. This symbol here seems to be their crest, but as Necrit said, this could also just be Shurima or built over. Either way, it's it's weird that these pages were called Bilgewater pages when they have drawings of stuff not from Bilgewater. Still, this design is somewhat similar to the teaser for the new Sentinel of Light champion. The man and the cat could be Braum and Yuumi, tying this to my previous theory of how Braum got to Bilgewater, but I also don't think this is very likely. However, the man does seem to have a shepherd's staff, and this could be Porus, maybe? As I said, I'm not confident in this. Going back to the champion's teaser, we can see the mist entering the portal and reaching Bandle City. Could this be a new threat to the realm of the Yordles? Could the mist use their portals to travel to other parts of Runeterra? Perhaps the reason Norra closed the portal was to save Bandle City. To end, I want to mention the possibility of the new Marksman being from Shurima or Ishtal. We know that the Sentinels of Light operate in various corners of Runeterra. The places we've seen them protect in the stories include Ionia, the Serpentine Delta, Bilgewater, and Demacia. I think the new Sentinel may be from Ishtal, as the symbol seen in the champion's teaser is quite similar to the crest of Ishtal. Then again, this could be just inspired by the Sentinel's symbol and Blessed Isle's architecture, the latter also being similar to the building from Teemo's page. But Yuumi's champion trailer ended with a teaser for Kiana's, so there's either a lot of connections here or I'm overthinking him, which is most likely the case. It's also possible that the Sentinel is from Shurima, as we see sand in their teaser. Interestingly, the next expansion coming to Legends of Runeterra is from Shurima. And Shurima was also the place where Yuumi found a broken shard of blue pottery that looked like a piece from one of Norra's teapots. Let's just hope it isn't Lucian's father, Urdius, brought back to life by the mist, making him another dead character that actually didn't die. I'd rather have Dawan, a sentinel from the Senna's story, the voice of the dead. I'll throw a curveball here and say that some of the objects Norra was looking for were somehow related to the Shadow Isles, like artifacts and such. Perhaps these fabrics with funny stitching are somehow related to Isolde and her powers.